So jumping off from that point, let's dive in. And one of the things I've learned, especially with writing a book, is people purchase a book because they have a perceived problem or they love the title or things like that. But in order to get somebody to finish a book, they have to be engaged with the content. So what is the perceived problem that would make somebody want to pick up your book? What's the core thing? What are they seeing in their business?
Yeah, I think there's really sort of two things that are happening. One
Hmm.
is a disengaged team. So we've got some great case studies and share some great case studies about those disengaged teams that are frustrated. And the second is if you've got broken processes. And I typically ask two questions. And I think almost all my clients today, I would say all my new clients over the past year, I've asked these two questions. The first one is, what pain do you experience when people don't follow your process? When people sort of start self-reflecting about, okay, what pain do I experience when people don't follow my process? So a CEO or a VP of a large team might say, what pain do I experience when people don't follow my process? And sometimes the answer is, I don't have a process, right? But the second question is, what pain does your organization experience when your process breaks down? So even
Hmm.
if you do have a good process, what pain is your organization feeling when that process doesn't go as planned? And so
Hmm.
it's really those two questions, I think, that help people. And if they have pain or their organization has pain, then this book will walk you through the steps for how to look at, evaluate, and come to some resolution on fixing it.
So what's kind of that analogy in what you do for customers that they see something and they're kind of misunderstanding the real issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I alluded to sort of this case study a little bit ago
Mhm.
that I had a client early January of 2021. So it's about almost exactly a year ago that approached me and said, "Hey, my team is stressed out. My team is frustrated. They're struggling. They're sort of floundering. Right? The
Mhm.
COVID situation had completely disrupted, and so the people were frustrated. They were struggling, and we actually did a survey on Mentimeter. I use Mentimeter as sort of a tool to facilitate these discussions and asking these folks, how do you feel today in terms of being overworked and work-life balance and clarity of your role and stress or frustration. And in early 2021, they were way over to the left, right? They were like, they were feeling terrible. And when the CEO introduced us to the team, they're like, "We don't have time for this. We don't have time to document our processes and look at what our we're spinning around with our just everything's going crazy." But we she proceeded with it with her team, and as we went through it, we asked them again at the end, "How do you feel with these things?" And it was 2 to 3 times improvement in terms of stress level, clarity of their roles, the work life balance, because after documenting their processes, even though this was perceived as an added thing they had to do,
Mhm.
the documentation and the clarity of their processes and alignment between people was really the core problem. That was the thing that was causing them to
Right.
spin around.
So what is, and again, this may be reiterating the same thing again, but what is the real problem? And this may get deep, this may be, what is is it the CEO, CMO, the EIEIO, somebody holding back this organization because they don't want to do this process analysis or things like that? What's the real
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah, so if I one of the things I love process. People who know me, they're like, Ryan's sort of a process geek, right?
Hmm.
But if I ask a room of people, if I ask a big room of people, how many of you want to document your process today? It's almost silent, right? No, nobody's that interested. A lot of people are like, I don't want to, I don't have
I
time for that.
I love it, man. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of it. I'm actually doing all of that stuff. I That just geeks me out. I'm with you
There,
110%,
yes, there's some, right? There's a few
Yeah.
geeks like you and I, right?
Right,
But
exactly,
but but a
yeah.
lot of people are like, that sounds like extra work, right?
Right.
I've got to take care of my customer. I gotta, buy, I got supply chain issues. I've got all these other things. Like, why am I gonna stop and
Mhm.
document my process? But um, the thing that I find is that unclear processes or perceptions about oh, this is my department's process and that's their department's process. And if they only followed my process, then everything would be better.
Hmm.
Um, but there's sort of these frustrations that happen between people and between departments about perceptions, and getting everybody to sit together in a room or even in a virtual room and document their process in a fun way. Because I get it. I don't want to just, people are like, one step after another, and it can get boring. But when we get people engaged and have fun with it, when when we start seeing true clarity between the people,
Hmm.
that's what pumps me up. Because uh, that's actually the problem that's happening, is people have perceptions because they're so busy doing the things they're supposed to do every day. They don't
Right.
have time to step back and say, all right, how do we align this all together and get
Right.
things all moving the right way?
So
Yeah.
what's that solution? What do they have to look at?
So the way that I facilitate this, the way I take people through this, is thinking about your customer journey map,
Hmm.
and thinking about your customer's process. As your customer, like, how do they become aware of you? How do they become a client? How do you help them? How do they what's your process for operations, and for collecting money from them, and for retaining or upselling them? What's that process of what your customer goes through? And the reason that I start there is that if I start with an individual department, I think a lot of organizations, they think of process and they say, we should look at our operations department. That's where our process is. And then you start sub-optimizing these operational processes, because each department or each part of your operation says, well, this is what my process is, and this is what my process is. And when we take a step back from all of that, the first process I want to build with any organization is, what does your customers' process look like as they interact with your
Hmm.
organization?
So if people wanted to get a hold of you or get a hold of the book, what's the best way for them to do all that stuff?
Yeah, so they can send me an email, Ryan at epszone.com, or they can check out our website is www.epszone.com. Or they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I think we've been posting a lot of great content and tidbits and nuggets of from the book and things like that for people to improve engagement and process alignment and things like that. So love to connect with people, and I can also send me an email and I'll send you my calendar and we can book some time and talk through whatever challenges you're having.